Okay, so, how are you, outliers? I was gonna like do something really cool, outliers, and it just like I fumbled right at the very beginning. I was like, I had this whole like mini rap in my head, and none of it came out, right? But we go down like that. Yeah, I mean, I love that you're still feeling it here. And I share this here because we are here in a conversation of openness, expansion, and leveling up here as outliers. My name is Niiamah Ashong. I am joined today by the awesome Anya Halama. We are going to spend some time going through Anya's experience, how she sees the world, and how she keeps leveling up her game as an outlier. And ultimately, we're here to help you uh, bring in more income, more impact, and more integrity in everything that you do. And the integrity part being like just being more you and what it is that you get done. So, Anya, I'm excited for this conversation. It's been a while in the making, and I know that uh, you have put a lot of work into both yourself and what you're building. And so I'm just really grateful that we get the benefit of your experience and the time that you put in. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Sam. I'm excited to be here. And I still want to hear that rap, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was everything for me is like mainly in real time, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, I have something to say, and then like I have no clue what I'm going to say afterwards. I actually feel like I was talking to someone around.
Well, maybe you can wrap this up with one of those.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if the energy is still there because I like we'll see if the energy is there. Uh yeah, actually what's coming up to my mind right now is like a lot of people will talk about like, hey, I'm looking to grow or I'm finding ways to stretch myself, so I'll do stand-up comedy. And in my mind I was like, oh, maybe I'll do improv because I like jazz, I like improvisation. But perhaps the space for me is actually freestyle rapping and learning how to become a freestyler and playing from there. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll play around here. Anya, I
Oh,
love,
hey.
I love, I love this component of openness here that we have here. I want outliers to get a chance to get to know you. So, if you don't mind here, would you mind sharing a bit about you and the game that you're playing right now?
Yeah, so as Niiamah said, I'm Ania Halama. I am a spiritual as well as integration mentor. I work with plant medicines, and my company is called Expansion Alchemy. And what that is all about is we have 5 different pillars: personal development, health, relationships, financial wealth, and holistic wellness. And we're bringing it into the corporate market as a wellness benefit for employees. I've worked in corporate America for a long time, and I was burnt out. And that kind of goes into part of my story. And if you're okay with that, we can just start right there. So yeah, worked in corporate America for a long time and I got burnt out. Hey, like stress, anxiety, depression, insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I was going blind. I couldn't eat any food. I was allergic to almost everything. And it was all stress related, pretty much. And Western medicine just wasn't working for me anymore. So I really knew that I needed to heal myself in a way that I knew I needed to take myself out of a toxic environment. I'm from Chicago originally. I don't live there anymore. On top of trauma that I had with my family, with work, with working in the corporate environment since I was 17 years old, like really, really young. And just all of this piled on top of me, and I'm sure so many like business owners and even like working for someone, I'm sure they can relate to this, like burnout, stress, anxiety. I just don't know how to handle all of this because these things are still a little like taboo per se, which is crazy to me because like meditation is so mainstream nowadays, so is breath work, and like there's still some like tabooness about it. And so I came to a point where I couldn't climb the corporate ladder in that job anymore. And I was either going to look for another job or do something crazy. And so I did something crazy because that's how I am. So I bought a one-way ticket to Thailand. I packed up all of my stuff. I quit my job and I went on a journey halfway across the world. And I am so glad that I did that because that's what really opened up to who I am, to my own healing, to what I do now, to changing my entire perspective on life, on work, on family, on relationships, on everything. And I started slowly healing myself. Healing as in I started getting rid of my anxiety. I started sleeping a full night's sleep. Like I couldn't sleep for 10 years. Like a full night's sleep was incredible at that time. And one thing led to another. And I'm a kind of person, like if I like something, I dive like head first. I study it all day, every day until like my head is about to explode because I can't fit in any more information with that anymore. And so I did that. And I started learning about law of attraction, meditation, Akashic records, yoga, all of these things. And I started feeling better. And that's kind of what opened up my healing journey. And Niiamah and I were talking about this like before the recording about plant medicines. And that's kind of when plant medicines came into my realm. Ayahuasca was something that started coming up for me for a while, like 5 years. And every time I like turned on TV, like Chelsea Lately is talking about ayahuasca, or I open a book and like I'm reading something about a tribe in Peru. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of like, it's calling me. And they say like, when the spirit of ayahuasca calls, like you'll know she will call. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I worked my way to South America, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm living in Medellin, Colombia. I've been here for almost 7 years now, and it's home for me. I love it so much. And plant medicine started coming into my realm, and I was like, okay, I really wanted clarity why things were working out certain ways in my life, why I was sick, why I wasn't able to heal my relationship, my traumas with my father, why he did certain things to me. And I just had all of these questions. And I went into my first ceremony. I came to Medellin, and a week later, I was invited into a ceremony. I was like, okay, this is like alignment. I'm supposed to be here. I went, and it just completely transformed my life. So I started diving more into that, and I started learning more about plant medicines. Last year, I got initiated into a tribe. I went away into the jungle, and so I can help facilitate plant medicines, which we have a retreat center here now as well. And now I help people with that, but also on not just like the woo, let's go away and like be in the spiritual la la land all the time, but also working with the subconscious from everything else that I've learned as well, working with the subconscious, reprogramming the mind, being able to heal your body, and just really opening up your heart so you can truly start living the life that you want and you truly desire.
I appreciate you, Anya. Like as I'm listening to this here, um, some of the elements that start off, we'll start off with like the burnout components of it, right? Um, because I like there's a component as you were talking about, which is like how real all that was, right? You say it and it came by quickly, like, but like you also like rattled off like 12 different like ailments that were all happening at the same time. You're like, I wasn't sleeping, this wasn't happening, so on and so forth. I I want to I'm going to unpack along the way and then look toward the future, but I want to start off a little bit there in case there's any outlier that's listening right now that is like ignoring the signs or is hesitant to like do something crazy and go buy that one way ticket. That's what your thing ended up being, but it's probably some kind of inner know and inner truth inside of them that things aren't working, and it could be doing more of the same or actually like allowing themselves to do something radically different. So would you mind like speaking to that part here, and then there's some other things you mentioned I want to like dive into.
Yeah, so for me, it really came into like it was literally an entire decade. Like most of my late teens, early 20s, because again, I started working in corporate America when I was 16, 17 years old. Late teens, early 20s, like for an entire decade, I was burned out, like stress, anxiety. Like I would go somewhere, I would get panic attacks, like to a point, like my vision started going, like doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with my eyesight, like going to like specialists on specialists on specialists. And it was all stress related. They say like stress is a silent killer. It really, really is. And it's so common for most people to be stressed that people don't realize that they're stressed because everyone in their inner circle is stressed. And it's like, oh, this is the norm. Like I'm not sleeping. Oh, everyone else that I know isn't sleeping, or I can't breathe properly. I get allergies. Whatever it might be, however these symptoms might be coming up for you, it's so common for so many people that you don't realize that these are actual symptoms. You're like, okay, this is just the norm, but no, it's not. And for me, it was like not being able to sleep, not being able to breathe, not being able to see, not being able to eat most foods. Like I was allergic to so many foods. I wasn't able to eat. And I was like, okay, like this isn't right. And I'm constantly panicking. Like I was breaking out in hives all the time. And I'm like, this isn't right. So I went to doctor on doctor on doctor, and all of them, what they put me on is anti-anxiety medication, antidepressants, like to a point where I was getting suicidal thoughts. I was like having just like low moments. And I wrote a chapter in my book, in my first book, about this called Anxious Happy, which I was always the girl that like had a smile on my face, and like the outside world had no idea, but like my inside internal thoughts, like I was an anxious ball of anxiety, like constantly like nonstop thinking, like that monkey chatter of the dark thoughts, the depressed thoughts, like suicidal thoughts, all of these crazy things that wasn't like me, but I couldn't get to the root cause of what it truly was. I didn't know what the root cause of what it truly was. And yes, sometimes it does take, and it's funny, I tell clients this all the time. I'm like, you just need to like change your environment. And changing your environment could be like literally going to clean your house. It could be something radical, go buy a one-way ticket and go to Thailand like I did, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes we needed to change something within us, and our external reality is a direct reflection of our internal reality. So if like your outside is a mess, your inside's probably a mess as well, and vice versa. So if you're constantly like in your head, constantly going and like all of these crazy thoughts, this monkey chatter going on, like go clean your house. Like legit, go clean your house, go clean your fridge out. You're
That for me, it ends up being that like there's two things. One, it's like I usually need to get a haircut. And it's like just go get a haircut and like things just work out. And washing the dishes. So I can tell when like when things pile up in the dishes in the sink, it's because things have piled up in my brain, things have piled up on my in my life. And it's like when I start washing I almost say I'll get to that when I get time. I'll get to it when I get time. And it's like every time whenever I flip it, I'm like, I'm just gonna handle it. Other things start to the pile actually starts to go down. So I live that. I feel that in a really real way. And I appreciate you bringing in those components of like two parts. One of them I heard was like, hey, this was happening for 10 years. So there's a part of it that is like when you bring it and you say it right now, it's like back to back to back to back. It's like, well, how could like obviously something was up, right? And you're like, well, I know that too. I was going to like get things checked in, but I think that there is a level of like of subtlety. Like one of the greatest gifts we have as humans is hedonic adaptation, I believe, where it's like our ability to like adapt to the environment that's there. But that's also one of the bigger curses that we have because it's like over time, it's like this isn't right, but I've gotten used to it. And I want to put that into this mix here as we get started here because uh, outliers, like for anyone that's out there that's feeling like, wait a minute, things aren't right yet. Like let's not ignore it. Let's not ignore it. Let's take action. And like I love how you gave me like go for me as wash the dishes. Like go clean your room, go clean your house, whatever it is. Like it doesn't have to be drastic, but there are steps that can be taken to actually start writing like changing the trajectory of that. Anything else you want to say to that, Anya, before let me check in.
Yeah, so for me, like it's not that I wasn't taking action, because I
Mhm.
was taking action. It's just
Yep.
I wasn't fully in alignment with myself and on my own path to take the right actions.
Okay.
Because I went to doctor on doctor, and they put me on like the pharmaceutical drugs, and they were just masking the pain. And then I went into a whole bunch of addictions. I have an addictive personality, like drugs, alcohol, like all the things that I shouldn't have been doing because I was numbing the pain that way.
Okay.
When I completely took myself out of the environment, went to Thailand, that's when I started doing the right aligned actions to start healing myself, like the meditation, the eating better, the breath work, the yoga, all of that. Which, sure, I could have done that in Chicago, but I was putting myself in the environment around like-minded people that were doing the same exact thing. Because
Yeah.
when I was in Chicago, all of my corporate friends, all of the friends were doing the same exact things that I was. When I took myself out of that, went to Thailand, I put myself around people that were going to the yoga classes, the meditation classes, and that helped me change.
So let's talk here. We're gonna be leaving this part here, but there's a component I think is really important, which is actually changing the your environment. There are outliers here listening to this right now. I think myself, I'm thinking about it for me in areas where this would be. I think that there's one thing to like have dreams of and think like maybe I should, and there's another thing to actually step in and actually change that environment. And this is like, I've had clients who are like, I live with roommates, and there's just too much noise going on, and like it was just about like going to like live on their own for the first time. So it doesn't not like again, it could just there aren't I don't even want to say you have to take radical steps, like use that word radical. It's like I don't think it's about the radicalness of it. It's like how much you actually, to your point, get into the root cause of it. So what led you to actually say like, you know what, I am going to just like address the root cause and leave the environment? Because I think that the benefits of a new environment, I think we can all be like, yep, we get it. Would be awesome too. And it was so easy to be like, but I can't because of, and then just whatever litany of excuses. So if you don't mind like taking us to like, what was the difference for you that said like, hey, I'm actually going to do this and I'm actually going to buy this ticket versus all the times beforehand?
Being sick and tired of being sick and tired, pretty
Yep.
much.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yepers.
being tired and sick for that long, I was like, I need to do this for me. And it was scary, so scary. And so many people were telling me like, oh, what if you get robbed? What if something bad happens? What if that? And like even that alone, like I knew that I couldn't give into the fear because I would have not ever went instead. And I did this like way before the digital nomad thing was a digital nomad thing. Now everyone just get ups and leaves and like it's easy and fun and that they can do it. And especially now after COVID, like there's so many online jobs, which that didn't happen 10 years ago. There was nothing like that. For me, it was like work wise, it was an easy transition because my background's in graphic design and marketing. So, like, that was really easy to transition into the online world and to work for myself. But I knew that I couldn't give into those fears because more that we give into something, like, more of it expands. So, whether it's fear, whether it's happiness, whether it's whatever it might be, like, the more we focus on something, the more that expands. And if I focus on like, oh, what if I get robbed? What if something happens to me? Like, yeah, I'm gonna have so many fears. Like, I'm a 5 foot tall little white girl from Chicago. I don't want that. So instead, I'm like, okay, well, what if I have a great time? What if I actually heal myself? What if I find the love of my life? What if I fall in love with this country, with this new land? What if I learn a new language? What if I have fun? What if I make a shit ton of money? Whatever it might be. Like just flipping that script within myself as well, just to give me that extra push.
Nice, nice. All right. So now let's go to this place here because you had used earlier, like you're like I went and I was healing, right? And I experience you now, and well, let me ask you. I talked a lot about liars who have played, have gone through their path of healing, and now they're like at like a crossroads where they're like, okay, I'm used to doing the healing work, but now like I feel like I'm not just looking for like a neutral. I'm looking to actually grow, looking for something to build, and so on and so forth. I was wondering if maybe you can talk about that when you like around that transition point for you because the things you're doing right now are incredible, like so on and so forth, and I feel that like it's not just part of a healing journey anymore for you. Let me know if I'm wrong. Like I'm on the outside looking, so like you let me know like what's up with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And for me, it was the realization that I felt healed enough because like we're always healing. Like there's always things to heal, but that doesn't mean that you like have to stop your entire life and like not do anything because you're healing. No, we can grow, we can expand, we can still like move forward. But for me, I realized it was the moment that I can fully, openly, and vulnerably talk about my healings and what happened to me. I can talk about things that happened to my dad. I can talk about my addictions. I could talk about me getting raped, like openly. That's when I've transmuted it and it's in the past for me. And I can move forward and grow from those experiences.
Thanks. I want to make sure we're bringing this in here because I Yeah, I've just been having some recent conversations where it's like what happens when you're at that yeah, you're at that inflection point, right? So you got to that inflection point, took you out to Colombia. You've been growing here. I don't think it's a small thing at all for you to have like been inducted into a tribe like that. That really speaks to you like speaks to you in here, right? So tell me here, like when you right now are bringing your programs into corporate, you're bringing you brought in different things along your journey. I think that the question that comes to my mind is like, how did you like leverage like what works for you to build like the life that you've built right now?
So trying so many different things. Like I always say this, what works for one person doesn't work for everyone. And like spirituality isn't a one size fits all. And I've really come to a point where like I've mentioned in the beginning, like if I like something, I dive head first and I try multiple different things. And now that I've worked with hundreds of clients, like I see certain patterns. I see patterns of what's happened in my life. I see patterns in what's happening in multiple different people's lives. And I always say, like, also, um, your ideal clients are the person that you were 5, 10 years ago. Like I see those patterns that like I've had to deal with, and I can directly talk to them because I've transmuted that energy. I've worked past it. I've moved along it. Now I can help those people with that exact same thing, and they can trust me with it as well because they're like, okay, if she could do it, I can do it as well.
You know, like as you're speaking here, something that's flowing through me is um, like I'm really curious about what's coming up for you, right? And there's a it's really awesome being in space with you. Like I get that where you go, transformation happens. Where I get that where you go, like openness happens, and people get to feel and grow for themselves in here, right? And so I want to play with like something that you're building now, something that is like in the process of coming through, something that's like not quite finished, and then see how you're playing the game to navigate that as well. Are you good with that?
Yeah, let's do
All
it.
right, cool. As that comes in there, like, and let's pick something right now. Like, what's something that's really cool, something like you that you're really excited about, that's coming to life. That is, you've seen the beginnings of it. You're like, but like you've just excited to share overall. What's something that like that that's played out for you?
Yeah, so that would be the retreat center, actually. And we've talked a little bit about it on our previous calls and our connections. And we were supposed to do a retreat coming up at the end of this year, but life had other plans at the moment. And it's kind of on pause because there was a lot of uncertainty with my boyfriend being away and just legalities of this business. And there's been a lot of dark moments, a lot of like, are we supposed to be doing this? Like imposter syndrome, like, is this really right? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? But yet so much faith, so much guidedness that this is 100% exactly what it is. We haven't put in the new dates yet for next year. But there's been a lot of upside downs with it. And I'm sure with anyone that's ever built a business, like they completely understand the ups, the downs, like the sideways, like the dark moments, the imposter syndrome, the dark nights of the soul that come out of it. But I have so much faith in myself. Like this is 100% what we're supposed to be doing.
I appreciate that. You brought in a couple of different things, and it could be this project. It might be something else recently that you've done, but I think it'd be really helpful to like get a sense of like some of the like the real challenges that you face, like in bringing one of your things to life, whether it's bringing expansion to alchemy to corporate or like with the retreat center or something like that. Because I guess my thing is, as we're talking, I'm like, okay, if we stay in the past, everything's covered. And if we look at how you're approaching things now, I think we'll get a chance to see like, okay, like how does Anya like actually keep applying the things that she's learned from to help her to keep going because that's where I'm at. Are you good with that?
Yeah, I'd love to share that. So I'd love to share something that like very, very recently happened. So with the retreats, we've already decided to postpone them. Just things weren't fully working properly. We ran into a lot of challenges, like marketing challenges. Like we're marketing like a psychedelic online. Like things are illegal in the US. And granted, we live in Colombia, so like it's like there's just a lot of challenges with it. But I actually went through a 9 day process, and I'm calling it like dry dieta for myself. So this was like about a week and a half ago, early October. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but I went through a 9 day process. And 9 days was divided into three separate stages. So the first stage was all about like releasing ego, releasing everything that doesn't serve you, releasing just anything that doesn't belong. The second phase was all about like what you want to call in, all of your manifestations, like why you're doing this, like getting into like the depths of what you want and why you want it. And then the third phase was all about like wisdom and rebirth. So I went through this like 9 day process. I limited my communication. I didn't like, I barely talked to anyone. I turned off my social medias. I turned off my WhatsApps. I like no TV, no Netflix, like no scrolling, just completely like in my process. And I really felt like I needed to do this because I've been off center and off balance myself. Like I needed to like what we were talking about, clean your house. Like I needed to clean my own house. So like limit my communication, limit my social media, and just really be within myself, God, and my higher self. Like those are the only things that are important to me right now. And the first 3 days were very, very difficult. So, like, the first 3 days were all about releasing the ego, anything that doesn't serve you, like, very, very difficult to like. I was doing this. I was mentioning earlier, like, I moved to the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm a very extroverted person, and I was by myself. Like, my boyfriend was in Canada for a while. So, like, just that alone and like going through such a deep process, like, very dark emotions came up, lots of releasing. And the second process was the second 3 days were so beautiful. And that's when like most of my gifts came to me in that process. I had some really beautiful, I want to say conversations. Like I feel like I'm contradicting myself because I'm like, oh, I'm limiting communication. But like I've had some messages come through where I wasn't fully showing up as myself. And I had to make some amends with of some people and apologize for certain things that I did. So I reached out to a couple of people, left them some voice notes, and told them I'm going through this process, and these are some of the messages that came through. And I've received some really beautiful gifts, some really beautiful like back and forth, like WhatsApp voice notes, conversations. And then the following 3 days, I actually sat with a mushroom ceremony and a changa ceremony. And like the big message that came through with that from those last 3 days was like, I really need to focus on myself. Like I'm so good at helping other people and like giving all of my energy to my clients, like my friends, my boyfriend, and like I pride myself so much on like helping everyone else, but I often forget to eat or I often forget to like work out because I'm just like so busy like doing everything else and I don't nurture myself. And part of being worthy is also being worthy of eating, being worthy of working out, being worthy and like feeling that worth because we also always consider and like I see worthiness as a like a limiting belief for so many of my clients that shows up over and over and over again. But like worthiness for me also came up as like worthiness of my own body, worthiness of my own health. And like I've never thought of worthiness as like the exterior because it's always like your subconscious, your interior, but like being fully worthy of like what is coming because I'm taking care of myself.
This element of worthiness here, like it really strikes me because as you're saying it, like I recognize for myself here that there's a disconnect, right? And so the disconnect for me is I'm like, oh, for me, like that doesn't necessarily like I don't think in terms of those lines per se, right? And what that means for me is I'm like, oh, there may be a gap right now that any outlier that's listening to this like doesn't really get a chance to like have that conversation because I'm not having that conversation, right? So would you mind if we spend a little bit of time on the worthiness part, especially since it's like it seems like you're well versed in it with you and your clients there, right? Like so how what do you find? What have you found to be like successful in helping people like kind of address or take different steps to rebuild or to look into the way that they consider their self-worthiness? All right, yeah. So like, what would you say like would be some things that you found that help people who are looking to like rebuild their own self-worthiness or like to build upon what's there?
So one of my favorite exercises is first off journaling of like what you feel unworthy of, what you might feel like what you're trying to manifest essentially, like what you want out of life, whether it's a partner, whether it's more money, whether it's whatever it might be, like sitting journaling like what you want, why you want it, etc. And then like doing mirror work, but doing mirror work like fully naked and like embracing yourself in all that you are and like loving every single aspect of you. Like I am worthy of this. Because X, Y, and Z. Looking yourself straight, there's something so beautiful, like looking yourself straight into your own eyes, into your own soul, and being like, I am fucking worthy of this. Like, no matter what, I love every single crevice, every single curve on my body. Like I am worthy of this because this is me.
Let's breathing that in real quick here as we come in. Um, So Anya, like, thank you for bringing this in. Like, as you're even talking, it gets me to think about when you're talking about like the 9 days here. And I found myself really curious. Like, was that a process that you like came up with on your own? Did you like, were you going through the thing up? Like, I was like, it just seems so like beautiful. And so I'm like, how did you come across this?
Thank you. So it is actually a mixture of two different processes. So one of the processes is a like a Shipibo dieta, which you're on a like a plant diet that you're doing with the Shipibo tribes. What I did in the jungle. So I didn't do an actual dieta, but I was still in contract, as they say. You're in contract with this plant, what you're going to be giving up and what you're going to be doing in return for X, Y, and Z gifts that you might receive. So that was that aspect of it. And the second part was a Hindu holiday, which I wasn't familiar with, but someone brought it to my attention. My boyfriend brought it to my attention. And it's something that he practices. The holiday is Navari, and it's a 9 day celebrating three different goddesses. So each of the three stages celebrated a different goddess in the Hindu culture. And I am so grateful that I was able to mix both of these and like create my own little tradition from it. And it was so beautiful and so powerful.
You know, like, thank you for that. Like, 'cause one of the things that was striking me was you talked about like changing your environment, right? And you know, we had talked about like getting the one-way ticket before, but I also heard you like changing your environment here for the last 9 days. Like, what I didn't hear is like it wasn't like isolation, but you limited. Like, you were very clear about like this is what I'm going to allow into my world right now. This is what I'm going to be bringing into my space. This is what I'm going to be working on. This is it. Speak a little bit to that because like I'm giving like a summary version of it, but like I guess the thing that's striking me is like creating and changing your environment in a concentrated like in a concentrated way, but then also in a very intentional way without having to like change your whole life. You know, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so this goes a little bit more into the contract that I was saying. So I
Mm,
wrote up before the process started, I wrote up a contract and I wrote, okay, I will be giving up all of these things. I'm going to be giving up social media. I'm going to be giving up Netflix for the next 9 days. I'm going to be limiting my communication. I like moved all of my like personal messages, like hid them and like I have a whole different like work WhatsApp. So I'm like, oh, I'm only going to be on work WhatsApp. Like I'm only limiting my computer screen time because like 9 days, like I have to work still. So I'm like, so I'm really like telling myself what is allowed and what isn't allowed, and really feeling into like what I'll be giving up in returns for what. So like limiting all of these communications, like limiting, like I'm not going to be eating any sugar. I'm only going to be eating like natural raw vegetables, and like no meat at this time. Like just really being intentional with myself, like not having any medicines, like not having any rape, mambe, whatever. Like these words are probably everyone's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Just being very intentional with everything that I'll be doing for the next 9 days, making sure I go to sleep at the right time, not staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning for God knows what reason, because I can't sleep, whatever it might be. Just being very intentional. And in return, I'm asking my spirit guides, the spirit of these three goddesses that I'm working with, I'm asking you to give me these gifts. Yes, there are certain things that I would like. There's certain things that I have no idea what you can possibly give me. I would like this, but give me all this and more. So being very intentional and having like intention expectation kind of thing, a merger of them.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me. Like I enjoy like hearing what you're saying because I get you to be someone who's chosen to have a lot of different experience, right? And then other experiences you didn't choose, right? But I feel your intentionality in the way that you go about things and you bring it to life. Like I'm imagining what it's like to. I hope you're able to figure out something with the retreat center at some point soon because it's like I get that the experiences with you aren't they're just multimodal, multi-dimensional in various ways, and I like to call that out. I like to call out the lack of. It's like I like simple things, and this doesn't feel complex, but what it does feel like is that it's immersive and involved, and that you find ways to keep like let's get beneath the layers, let's bring in different things, and let's bring in these experiences in a way that like navigates what's true. You know?
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah, definitely. So where I want to go now is uh, I actually feel like I feel pretty good. I want to check in and see, is there a question that you have of me or something that you would like one of two paths? Is there a question you have of me or something that you want to make sure that like outliers listening get a chance to hear? I want to go to that place. I'm gonna almost like say like what if we ended a conversation here, what would we have missed? Is essentially where I'm at.
So not, I don't think we've missed anything. I think this is very good and very beautiful, deep conversations that I haven't had yet, like
Mm.
publicly, which is very lovely as always. I'm
Could I
curious
say something
what,
to that really
yeah.
quickly? It's so funny to me that you say that. Like I'm over here smiling externally, or you can see it. Um, because as we're talking, my inner chatters, I'm like, oh, I want to go deeper. Like Anya's someone who like has the room, has the capacity, has done the work, so on and so forth, right? And so as you said that, what came to me was like this component of uh wow, dude, you must like you're being hard on yourself and you're trying to create something that isn't the words that come to mind like that isn't yours to create. Does that make
Mm,
sense?
yeah.
Like there's a component of this where I if I'm being real with you, in these kind of conversations, I am I'm asking myself multiple things. Even like one of them is what's the conversation that's going to serve you. Another part is what's going to serve outliers. Like what do they need to hear? What are the challenges that they're facing? What are the things that Anya can talk about that like Niiamah can't like or Niiamah hasn't like gotten the capacity to or the experience of and so forth. Like how do we bridge that? And then there's another part that the other conversation that came in and it happened like three or four times in this no I think it was like twice in this conversation where I'm just like I think I'm just here to see this person in front of me, you know? And so there was something that in your reflection and specifically using like, oh yeah, we went to like I don't remember the exact words, but when you said deep and it came back to me, my heart kind of like gasped. I'm like, oh, really? Did we did we have it to get there? So I want to make sure that I'm saying that and not hiding myself. It means something here. Um, and I think there's a level of I don't say levity, but lightness of
Mhm.
like, to me, it's almost like not trying to be everything, but like just, I say this at the end of every episode. I'm like, be you on purpose. I'm like, oh, I guess this is like, this is what I do. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but this is it, you know? Yeah. What comes to you when I share this, Anya? Like, I wanted to be real with that in the moment.
I love it. And thank you so much. Like, I'm very honored to have spoken to you today. And I'm very honored that you see me in a beautiful capacity of what I am and what I am capable of. Me as a human design projector, like, my insides are fuming and so happy right now.
I love it. I love it. Well, then, like, let's leave outliers with this gift of the conversation. What I would say here is this: outliers. For any of you that are listening to this, you know the way that I like to play this game. Yes, please go share this with people in your world. Share it on your platform. Let people come in and be a part of this conversation. But I also want you to think of one person in your life, one person in your life who would really benefit from this particular conversation. And then please go out, share this episode with them, and let them know why you're thinking of them. Right? You probably heard of this conversation because someone shared it with you, or perhaps you listen to this now and you're like, I wish someone had brought this to my attention. You know, be let's this game that I'm playing that I realize as I go, I'm like, we gotta do whatever, we gotta create whatever we want. We gotta make whatever happen. Like perhaps this is the movement, just one episode at a time, one person at a time. So I realize like if there's something that really resonated with you, or there's a person in your life that you really care about that you think would really benefit from this conversation, my ask is that you share it with that one person and let them know that you're thinking of them and and give this as a gift to them. Awesome. Anya, as we wrap up here, I have two questions for you. They come hand in hand. I'd like to wrap up by having you share an insight that you got from this conversation. Something that like outliers are taken care of. They're good. They got what they needed to do. But on your end here, like what's some takeaway that you're leaving this conversation with? And if nothing, if you there's no takeaway, if there's no insight for you, just say that. That's totally cool. You don't have to like make anything up on it. And then the other thing is like if we want to go deeper down in your world, like we want to go more, how do we do that? So insight, and then let us know how we stay like we go deeper in your world.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that comes for me is being true to yourself, like being fully in your own energy, remembering who the heck you are. Like we do all of these practices, we do so many things, but like sometimes we forget. And like that's what I needed this 9 day process for, to like remember who the heck I am. And I really hope that you guys can start remembering who you are as well. And if you'd like more from me, I'm on anyahalama.com, expansionalchemy.com, expansion with an X because I'm fancy like that. And then mostly on all of social media at Anya Halama.
Wonderful. Well, Anya, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You brought me to a wonderful place inside of me here and Outliers. I'm really, really looking forward to the things that you choose to do from this conversation, and hopefully you go spend more time in Anya's world as well. All right. Here's the thing. Until the next time we talk, remember this: be you on purpose. Journey on.
Thank you.